I finished doing all of my panels off camera, so I'm gonna go through each of them just to show how they look. This first one on top is 4 by 3 granny squares. One, two, three, four, 1, 2, 3. And this is gonna be the back of the cardigan. This next one is 3 by 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And this is gonna make up a sleeve. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. This is also gonna be a sleeve. And these last two are the same. They're both 2 by 3, and they're going to be the front panels of the cardigan. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. If you decided to do the large, extra large size instead, your panels are going to be slightly different. So I'm just going to run through what those dimensions are again. You're going to have two that are 2 by 4, which are going to be the front panels of the cardigan. So this one is 2 by 3. Just imagine that there are two more granny squares here at the bottom. You're going to have two that are 3 by 4, which are going to make up the sleeves. And you're going to have one panel that is 5 by 4, which is going to make up the back of the cardigan. So the difference between the large, extra large size and the small, medium size is that the large is one granny square row longer than the small, medium. It's also one granny square row wider. And the sleeves are also one granny square row wider, just to accommodate a larger measurement. So the next step would be to extend the length of the front and back panels. You're going to start by working on your back panel of the cardigan. So I'm working with the 4 by 3 panel, but if you're doing the large, extra large size, you're going to be working with the 5 by 4 one, of course. We're going to reattach the yarn to one of the top corners here. And you're going to do the granny stitch across the side that has 4 granny squares. But if you're doing the large, extra large size, you're going to reattach the yarn to the side that has 5 granny squares. So you're going to take your working yarn, insert your crochet hook into that corner here, yarn over and pull through. Take your short piece of yarn, yarn over, pull it all the way through that loop. Reinsert your crochet hook into the loop, yarn over, chain 1, yarn over, chain 2. And I'm going to start by working the granny stitch across this side. So I'm going to start by doing 1 double crochet stitch into this corner space, chain 1, and then into the next open space, I'm going to do 1 cluster or 3 double crochet stitches. Chain 1, and then 3 more double crochet stitches into the next space. And then I'm going to continue across this row until I get to that first join area. So by join area, I meant like the part where I joined 2 granny squares together. You can see this is where I did my single crochet stitch to combine these 2 squares. There is a corner space, there's the single crochet stitches, and then there's another corner space. What you're going to do is you're going to kind of fit one of the clusters in between that space right there. So I'm going to start by doing 1 double crochet stitch into that first corner space. I'm going to do 1 double crochet stitch in between the single crochet stitch. So you're just going to like fit it in there as best you can. And then I'm going to do 1 more double crochet stitch into that second corner space. So that's how it looks. Chain 1, and then continue to do clusters into the next spaces. So the next one is here, 3 double crochets, and continue on. So now I'm at the second join space. I'm going to do it the same way I did the first. 1 double crochet into that first corner, 1 double crochet into the single crochet stitch, and then 1 double crochet into that second corner space. So now I'm at my last 2 spaces. I have one last opening and then the corner space. I'm going to finish by doing one cluster, chain one, and then I have my corner space left. I'm going to do 2 double crochets into this space, into the corner space. I'm going to chain 3 and then flip my work. And then into that first corner space here, I'm going to do another cluster. Chain 1, and then just continue on until you get to the end of the row. So I'm back at the end of the row. I have one last open space. I'm going to chain 1 after I just finished my cluster. I'm going to try and make it look similar to how I started off the row. So I'm going to do one last cluster in that last space. And then I'm going to chain 1, and into that first, I started off the row before with 2 chains and then a double crochet stitch. I'm going to fit 1 double crochet stitch into that 2 chains area. So now it looks how you started the first row. I mean the first 2 stitches on the row. You're going to chain 3, and then flip your work. And then I'm going to do 1 double crochet into that open space. Chain 1, and then do 3 double crochets into that next open space. Chain 1, and then continue across your row. So I'm back at the end of the row. I just finished my last cluster into that second to last space, and I'm going to chain 1. And once again, you want the end of the row to be similar to how you started off the row. So I started with 2 chains and a double crochet stitch. I'm going to do 2 double crochet stitches into this last space. So 1, 2. And now I'm going to cut my yarn over, and pull all the way through. So now I made the back panel 3 rows longer. I'm going to put this to the side and move on to the front panels. So I have my 2 front panels here, and they're both the 2x3 pieces. If you're doing the large, extra large size, they're going to be the 2x4 pieces. As you can see, both of them I have right sides facing upwards, and you can tell because you can see the single crochet stitch where I joined each of the granny squares together. But regardless of which size that you're working on, you're going to do these 3 additional rows on the side of the panel that has 2 granny squares. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reattach my yarn to this corner here, and I'm going to do 3 granny stitch rows back and forth across this edge. I'm going to reattach the yarn to this side, which is the opposite end, and then I'm going to work back and forth across this edge. And you want to make sure that you're doing that with the right sides facing upwards, facing you. So I'm going to put one of the panels to the side for a second. And I'm going to take my working yarn here, insert my crochet hook into this corner space here, yarn over, pull through, and then take your short piece, yarn over, and then pull it all the way through. Reinsert your crochet hook into that loop that you just created, yarn over, chain 1, yarn over, chain 2. So now I can start double crocheting to do the granny stitch across this edge. I'm going to start by doing one double crochet stitch into this corner space. This is one, and then I'm going to chain one, and then I'm going to do my first cluster into that next opening. Chain one, and then do my next cluster into that next opening. Chain one. I'm going to continue across this row until I get to my third to last opening. So I'm at my third to last opening. So this is one at the corner, two, three. I just did a chain one after that last cluster. I'm going to do one double crochet into that open space. So this is one, and then I'm going to chain two, flip my work, and I'll do one double crochet into that first open space there. Chain one, three double crochets into that next open space, and then continue across this row until you get to your last opening. So I'm at the last opening of this row. There's an opening and then there's a double crochet in those two chain stitches that I started with. I'm going to do two double crochets into that opening. And then I'm going to chain one. Sorry, actually, I'm going to do three double crochets into that opening. I'm going to chain one. And then in those two chains that you started with, you're going to do one double crochet into that. Chain two, flip your work, and then do one double crochet into that first opening. Chain one, and you're going to do a cluster into that next open space. Chain one, and then continue across this row until you get to the end. So I'm at the end of this row. I have an open space and then I have two double crochets. Actually, sorry, I have one double crochet and then two chains that I started with. I'm going to do three double crochets into that open space. And then I'm going to yarn over and just pull it all the way through. You'll need to cut your yarn if you haven't at that point. Okay, so that does look a little bit weird, but the reason why I did it like that is because when you attach this edge to the shoulder of the back panel, this part right here, and then there will be another one that is just the same on the opposite side, that's leaving enough space for your neck to fit. So now I'm going to show how to do this on the other front panel. So we just finished extending the length of the front bodice on one side. We're going to do the exact same thing to the other side. So both of these front panels have right sides facing up still. I'm going to attach the yarn to the opposite corner. So we started over here. We're going to reattach it to here. Insert your crochet hook into that corner opening. Yarn over and pull through. Take the short piece, yarn over and pull all the way through. Insert your crochet hook into that loop. Yarn over, chain one, yarn over, chain two. So I'm going to start by doing one double crochet into that corner space. This is one, chain one, and then I'm going to do three double crochets into that next space. Chain one, and then I'm going to continue to do the granny stitch across until I get to the third to last opening. So this one is one, two, three. When I get to here, that's when I'm going to stop. So now I have 3 spaces open, the corner, 2, and 3. I'm going to do 1 double crochet into this third to last space. I'm going to chain 2, flip my work, and then I'm going to do 1 double crochet into this opening here, chain 1, and then 3 double crochets into this next opening. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to continue across the row until I get to the end. I'm at my last opening of the row. I'm going to do 2 double crochets. Sorry, I'm going to do 3 double crochets into this last opening, chain 1, and then I'm going to do 1 double crochet into that 2 chains that I started the row before off with. Chain 2, and then you'll flip your work, do 1 double crochet into that opening there, chain 1, and then 3 double crochets into the next space, chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next space, and then continue across the row until you get to the end. So now I'm at the last opening of this row. I'm going to finish it off by doing 3 double crochets into that space, or 1 cluster. And then I'm going to cut my yarn and pull it all the way through. Okay, so now I have this side done. And if you lay it right next to your other front panel, you'll see that they're the exact same, just on the opposite sides. And this is where your neck is going to fit into. So now that we finished extending the length of the front and back panels, this next step you're only going to do if you're working on the large, extra large size. So you need to increase the width of the front panels, only the front panels. So similar to how you did the top shoulder part, you're gonna reattach your yarn to this corner here and then work back and forth just 2 rows doing the granny stitch just to make the width of the front panel slightly wider. You're going to do the exact same to this side as well. Reattach your yarn here to this corner and then work back and forth for just 2 rows. So yeah. Now that we finished extending the lengths of the front and back panels, I'm going to put those to the side for a second and focus on the sleeves. I have one of the sleeve panels here in front of me. It's the 3x3 panel, but if you're doing the large to extra large size, you're going to have the 3x4 panel in front of you. I do want the seam where I join one side of the sleeve to the other to be visible. So I'm going to fold my sleeve wrong sides together. And if you want to do yours, if you've been doing your seams the same way I've been doing it, you'll do the same, of course. So you want to make sure that you fold it on the side that has 3 granny squares, regardless of size. So for me, I'm just going to go like this because all of my sides are the same. My dimensions are 3, no matter what side you're on. But if you're working on the large to extra large size, you're just going to make sure that you fold it on the side with 3 granny squares. So it's going to look like you have 2 granny squares here and then 3 across. I'm going to reattach my yarn to this corner here and then single crochet across. So I have my crochet hook in between those corner spaces on both the front and back of the sleeves. I'm going to yarn over, pull through, and then I'll take my short piece, yarn over, and then pull it all the way through, reinsert my crochet hook into that loop that I just created, yarn over, chain 1, and then I'm going to start by doing 1 single crochet into that corner space. And then I'm going to continue across this row doing 1 single crochet into every double crochet stitch and 1 single crochet into the open spaces like here. I'm at the end of the row. I just did my last single crochet into that corner space. I already cut my yarn, so I'm just going to yarn over and pull all the way through. So now the sleeve is completely joined. I have like a opening for my arm. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other sleeve off camera. I'll come back when I'm done with both. I finished the second sleeve off camera, so I'm going to put that to the side for a second. For this next part, I'm going to join the front and back panels together by single crocheting them at the shoulder seams. And I'm going to make sure that I put the panels together with the right sides facing each other. So previously we were always doing it so that the join seams would be visible on the outside of the garment. This time I don't want them to be visible because I don't want to have like a stitch that is like sitting up at my shoulders. I think that's going to look a little weird. So right now I have, these are the front panels, and you can see that the wrong sides are up because you can't see the single crochet stitch. And then this is the back panel. You can see the single crochet stitch. So I'm putting the right sides together, and I'm going to reattach my yarn here and single crochet across this edge until I get to this part of the front panel. And then I'm going to do the same on this side. I'm going to reattach the yarn at this corner, single crochet across until I get to the end of the front panel. So I'm going to take my working yarn and I'm going to insert my crochet hook into this corner stitch here, yarn over, pull through, yarn over with the short piece, pull it all the way through, reinsert your crochet hook into that loop, yarn over, chain one, and then I'm going to start by doing one single crochet stitch into that same space where I reattached the yarn, and then work across. So I just came to the end of that front panel. I'm going to cut my yarn over and pull all the way through. So this is how it looks. And if I were to flip it so that the outside is out, you'll see that you can't see the single crochet stitch. So it'll lay flat on your shoulder. So now I'm going to reattach my yarn to this corner and I'm going to single crochet across this side. I'm going to have to flip my work to do it, but I'm going to do this part off camera because it's the exact same as the other side. And I'll come back when I'm done. I finished joining the second shoulder seam off camera. So now I'm going to switch to joining the side seams together. You're going to single crochet with the panels wrong sides facing each other from the bottom corner of the cardigan up to where the armhole starts. So in order to do that, you're going to take your cardigan. These are the shoulder seams here. You're going to turn it to the side. Okay, so this is my side seam. Both of these two panels, this one and this one, are the side seams. And I'm going to reattach my yarn to this corner here and then single crochet up until I get to the point where the sleeve would fit perfectly. So in order to know where to stop doing your single crochet, you're going to take one of your sleeves and then match it to the top, one side of the sleeve to the top of the shoulder. And then this bottom part of the sleeve, this is where you're going to stop crocheting. So I'm going to match my side seams, and then I'm going to take my working yarn, insert my crochet hook into that corner, going through both the front and back of the cardigan, yarn over, pull through, and then take your short piece of yarn over, and pull all the way through. Reinsert your crochet hook into that loop you just created, yarn over, chain one, and then now I can start single crocheting. I'm going to do one single crochet into that corner space, and then I'm going to do one single crochet into each double crochet stitch and one in between each open space. So just working across this row. I think I'm at the point where the sleeve will fit perfectly. They seem to match up pretty well. So I'm gonna cut my yarn and then yarn over, pull it all the way through. And now I'm gonna do the exact same stitch on the other side, and I'm gonna stop at the exact same point. So like I'm at this last cluster on the middle granny square. I'm gonna work the single crochet stitch till I get to that point on the other side, and I'll come back when I'm done. I joined the second side seam together off camera, so now I'm going to switch to attaching the sleeve to the cardigan. I do want the seam connecting the sleeve to the cardigan to be visible, just like how I have the seams between the granny squares visible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on the cardigan with the outside facing out so you can see where my join seams are. And then with the sleeve, you want to turn the sleeve inside out, but you need to make sure to check where you connected one side of the sleeve to the other. So I do have my join seam here. I'm going to keep it on the bottom. It needs to be facing the bottom of the cardigan. I'm going to insert this sleeve into the cardigan and then match up the armholes for both the sleeve and the cardigan itself. So here's the seam for the sleeve, and then here's the seam for the cardigan. You want to match those up perfectly, like they should be right over top of each other. And then that's where you're going to start single crocheting. That's where you're going to reattach your yarn to. Then the top fold of the sleeve, you want to make sure that that is matching the top of the shoulder. So it's right here. Make sure your sleeve fits in comfortably. You know, there shouldn't be any ruffling. You're going to reattach your yarn to this bottom corner here and then single crochet across the armhole. And that way it's going to be visible in the end. And when you pull the sleeve out, the right side will be on the right side of the garment. So I'm going to reattach my yarn to this short piece here. I'm just using the magic knot technique to do it. And then I'm going to insert my crochet hook into the corner right next to where the seams are, like as close as I can possibly get. Yarn over and then pull through, yarn over, chain one, and then now I'm going to start to single crochet around this armhole. So since the sleeve and the actual cardigan, the stitches aren't exactly the same on this edge, you won't be able to do like one single crochet into like the same double crochet stitch on both pieces, the same open space on both pieces. You kind of just got to fit them wherever they'll lay. So just make them as nice and neat as you possibly can. So I'm back at the start of the row. I just did my last single crochet stitch. I already cut my yarn, and now I'm just going to yarn over and pull all the way through. So in the end, we're going to have to tuck all these loose ends again. So I'm probably going to tie this in a knot with another piece, like maybe this one somehow. And then I'll just tuck it in between the black area so that it won't be visible. But I'm going to reattach, I'm going to attach the other sleeve to the other side the same way I did this one, and I'll come back when I'm done. I finished attaching my second sleeve off camera. So now I'm going to move on to the next step, which will be extending the length of both of the sleeves by 3 granny stitch rows. So this is the bottom of one of the sleeves. I reattached my yarn to a loose end that came from this single crochet stitch. And I'm going to insert my crochet hook into this corner space here that's right next to that single crochet stitch. Yarn over, pull up a loop, and then yarn over, chain one, yarn over, chain two. I'm going to start by doing 1 double crochet into that corner space. Chain one, and then I'm going to do 3 double crochets into that next opening. Chain one, then you're going to do 3 double crochets into the next opening and continue until you get to the next join space where there's a single crochet stitch connecting one granny square to the next. So now I'm at the first join space and there is one corner opening. There's the single crochet stitch and then there's another corner space. So similar to how you did when you extended the lengths of the front and back panels. Sorry, you can't even see what I'm doing. Like here and here. You're going to fit one cluster in between those three spots. So I'm going to do one double crochet stitch into that first corner space. I'm going to do a second double crochet in between that single crochet stitch. And then I'm going to do a third double crochet into that next corner space. Chain one, and then you'll do your next cluster into the next opening. So now I'm at my next join space. I'm gonna do it the same way as the first. One double crochet into that first corner space, one double crochet into the single crochet stitch, and then one double crochet into the second corner space. Chain one, and then continue on. So now I'm close to the start of the stitch again, or the start of the row again. So I have one corner space, the single crochet stitch, and then that second corner space where we started. So there's already two chains and then a double crochet there. I'm going to do one double crochet into that first corner space. I'm going to do a second double crochet into that single crochet stitch. And I don't count my first two chain stitches as one double crochet in this. So I'm just going to I'm going to slip stitch into that first double crochet stitch. You're going to cut your yarn over and pull all the way through. Right. So now you have your first row done. So you're going to switch to your second color. For me, it's the cream. And you can flip your work while you work. So I'm going to reattach my yarn to this opening that's right next to that last cluster that I did. Yarn over, chain one, yarn over, chain two. So I'm going to start by doing 3 double crochet stitches into this first cluster. Chain one, and then I'm going to continue to granny stitch across this row. So I just finished my last cluster. I already chained one, so I'm going to slip stitch into that first double crochet stitch of the row. Then I'm going to cut my yarn. So now I'm going to switch back to the black color and I'm going to do my last row of this sleeve. And you want to make sure you flip your work, which I just did. So I'm going to reattach my yarn to this space, this opening right here. Chain one, chain two. I reattached it the same way I've done it the entire project. So I'm going to start by doing a cluster into this space. This is going to be 1, 2, 3, chain one, and then I'm going to work my way around this row. So I just finished my last cluster of this row and I did a chain stitch. So I'm going to slip stitch into that first double crochet stitch of this row. I'm going to cut my yarn over and pull all the way through. Okay, so that's the end of those 3 rows. So I'm going to do this exact same thing to the other sleeve and I'll come back when I'm done. I finished doing the cuff on the second sleeve off camera. So this is how the cardigan is looking. The next step would be to tuck all of your loose ends. I'm going to do that part off camera because I did show how to do it earlier, and it's the same way for every single crochet project. But I'm just going to make sure that when I use my darning needle, I'm tucking each color within each color section. So like I'm going to tuck the black within the black section and the cream within the cream section. I don't want it to like stick out or be noticeable. But at this point, you're pretty much done with the cardigan. You can block your piece if you want by like steaming it with a hand steamer, but you should be really proud of yourself at this point. Like you're like 95% of the way there. The cardigan is really cute. It's very wearable and it can also transition. It's a winter cardigan, I feel like, but it can definitely transition to summer because it's very loose and airy with all the different holes that the granny square creates. But yeah, give yourself a pat on the back. And now I'm going to cut to some images of the cardigan. So that's the end of this tutorial. Thanks for watching to the very end. I really appreciate it. Please like, subscribe, and share. And if you decide to recreate this cardigan, please tag me because I would love to see it. Thanks.